Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Ismail bin Muhammad Swandi, number matric A20A1373. Okay. Today I want to present about the question number 1 for the case study for our group A. Okay. Let's check out for the question. Okay, now this slide shows the summary about the case study in case study number 1. Okay. First, this case study is about the impact of COVID-19 to economy in Malaysia. Second, we can see a decline in all economic activities for Malaysia throughout the period. Okay. Last, this article is from New Straits Times newspaper. Okay. That's for the summary. Now for the question, I have to answer two questions for the question 1. Okay. The question A and the question B. Okay. For the question A, the question is, by using a business cycle diagram, illustrate the phase of the Malaysia economic situation. Okay. For the question B, briefly explain about that phase. Okay. For the next slide, we can check for the answer. Okay. Okay, now for the answer question A, we can see at the slide, this is the business cycle diagram. Okay, we can see at the diagram, it has expansion, peak, contraction, and trough. Okay, for the phase for the economic situation in Malaysia is contraction because all the business activity is decline. Contraction happen after the peak and before the trough. Okay, that's all for the answer question A. Okay, next for the answer question B. Okay. Okay, now we look at the answer for question B. Okay. First, we give the definition about the business cycles. Okay, the definition is, business cycles are a type of fluctuation found in the aggregate economic activity of nations. A cycle consists of expansions occurring at about the same time in many economic activities, followed by similarly general recessions. This sequence of change is recurrent but not periodic. That description from the 1946 Magnum Opus by Arthur F. Burns and Wesley C. Mitchell. Okay. Based on the diagram 1, the phase of the Malaysia economic situation in business cycle is contraction. Okay. Contraction in economy refers to a period throughout the business cycle when the economy as a whole is in decline. Okay. A contraction happens when the business cycle reaches its peak, but before it reaches its trough. Okay. Okay, based on the article said, in the beginning of the paragraph, middle of the paragraph, and last paragraph state the economic situation for Malaysia is contraction. We can see at the article, why is contraction happen to Malaysia? Okay. Okay, now the answer for the question C, 1 and 2, present by Noramira binti Adnan. Okay. Okay. That's all from me.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Noramira binti Adnan, matric number A20A1627. I will continue present for the question number 1C. There is one economic policy that the government of Malaysia should implement when the business cycle pace is at contractions is expansionary fiscal policy. Next, from the article, governments of Malaysia can use expansionary fiscal policy. The article said, Bank Negara Malaysia said the deadline reflected the unprecedented impact of the stringent containment measure to control the COVID-19 pandemic globally and domestically. In Malaysia, the Nationwide Movement Control Order (MCO) include various measures that restricted production and consumption activities in demand and supply shock that emanated not only from significantly weak external demand conditions, but also production constraints in many economic sectors. The central bank said today, we can see from the article that the Movement Control Order (MCO) and other activities that have been started during the MCO makes Malaysia to face the contraction pace. To overcome it, governments can use expansionary fiscal policy strategy. Expansionary policy, also known as loose policy, is a type of macroeconomic policy that aims to boost economic growth. Monetary or fiscal policy can both be used to expand the economy. This policy includes transfer payments, tax cuts, gift rebates, and increase the government spendings on projects, because all of this can increase the government spendings and it also can make governments earn more money. This can make the economy become stable. Expansionary fiscal policy is an effective strategy for the governments to balance the contraction.
Here, I will present question 2, where the question has given the value of the use of autonomy plan investment. Government spending is Rm 1,000 billion for each of the following. For question 2a, we are required to find the value of the tax. We use the disposable income YD formula equal to Y minus T, which is national income minus tax. YD 2000 is equal to 3000 minus tax. 2000 minus 3000 is equal to negative T. Negative 1000 is equal to negative T gets a tax equal to 1000. So, the value of the tax found is Rm 1000 billion. Next, look for the consumption function. We use the same MPC. We use the formula MPC as change in total consumption divide change in total income. MPC equals 3,250 minus 2,500 divide 4,000 minus 3,000, and we can get the number. The consumption function is 0.775. The next MPS saving function is equal to 1 minus MPC. 1 minus 1 minus MPC. So 1 minus 0.75 equal to 0.25. Formula for saving function is equal to negative A plus 1 minus B disposable income. So S equals negative 1000 1 minus 0.75 YD, and we can get S equal to negative 1000 plus 0.25 YD. For question 2b, we are also required to find the equilibrium of national income using an aggregate demand and aggregate supply AD equals to AS and a leakage and injection approach. For the formula of the aggregate demand and aggregate supply is Y is equal to C plus I plus G plus G. C stand for consumption, I for investment, and G for government. So 1000 plus 0.75 YD plus 1000 plus 1000 plus 1000. We are going to get 3000 plus 0.75 Y minus T. 3000 plus 0.75 Y minus 1000. 3000 plus 0.75 Y minus 750. Y minus 0.75 Y is equal to 2250. So Y minus 0.75 is equal to 0.55. Y is equal to 2250. Y is equal to 2250 divided by 0.25, and the answer is Rm 9,000 billion. So Next, for the leakage and injection approach, we use the formula I plus G is equal to S plus T. So 1000 plus 1000 is equal to negative 1000 plus 0.25 YD plus 1000. So 2000 is equal to 0 plus 0.25 Y minus 100. 2000 plus 250 is equal to 0.25 y. 2250 divided by 0.25 is equal to y, and the answer is we find RM 9 billion as well, 9,000 billion as well.
I'm Nur Hafiza binti Waruslan. I will continue the question 2 for C. Based on the above statement, find new equilibrium of national income. First, we need to find new investment. 5% divide 100% multiply 1000 equal to 50. 1000 minus 50 equal 950 billion ringgit. And next, we need to find new government value. 1000 plus 10 equal to 1010 billion ringgit. And the next step, we need to use this formula y equals c plus I plus g. Y equal 1000 plus 0.75 yd plus 950 plus 1010, and the answer we got y equal 8840, and we got the new equilibrium of national income is 8840 billion ringgit. For the next question, if the full employment is 5,800 billion ringgit, does Malaysia face economy problem? The answer is yes, there will be economy problems, namely inflation. We use this graph to show how government need to do to help the economy. They can use fiscal policy that is according to the AEY approved decrease in government spending. When the government lowers G, the aggregate spending curve will shift downward from C plus I plus G0 to C plus I plus G1. Next, as Y1 aggregate expenditure decrease between E0 and A, and the result is excess stock in the market. Therefore, from firm need to reduce output. Decrease in aggregate expenditure from AE0 to AE1 show that the inflation gap is overcome, and the reduction of Y from Y1 to Y0 show that the GNP gap is overcome. That's all from me.
The macroeconomic short run is a time in which some money prices are sticky, causing real GDP to be lower, higher, or equal to potential GDP, and the unemployment rate to be lower, higher, or equal to the natural unemployment rate. The short run behavior of real GDP and price level is studied using an aggregate supply and aggregate demands models. It also explains how the economy changes over time in order to achieve long-term equilibrium and full employment. Following are the impact of the above circumstance on GDP equilibriums. First, technological progress. Technological advancements have the potential to increase production efficiency. As a result, there will be a rise in supply. With an increase in supply, prices falls and the equilibrium price falls. As a result, GDP will expand of more low-cost purchases. Second, the equilibrium price will then decrease as the quantity demanded grow. This is because lowering the price of an item increases purchasing powers and thus demand. Furthermore, increasing the money supply will result in increased consumer expenditure. This will result in a rise in demand, which will lead to a rise in equilibrium pricing. When prices are high, people buy less. A drop in aggregate demand will result in a drop in real GDP. Finally, rising inflation causes aggregate demand to fall as aggregate supply rises, causing the GDP balance to fall because there is no demand from consumer.
Assalamualaikum and selamat sejahtera to my lecturer, Madam Nur Asma, and to all my friends. My name is Nur Hidayah binti Hamdani and my matrix numbers is A20A2192. Today I want to discuss about my question, which is question 3 about the Malaysia economy condition if the situation twin deficit state in the paragraph happen, and give the best solution to the above situation. First, I want to talk about the twin deficit. Twin deficit is the combination of between the fiscal deficit and current account deficit. It must happen at the same time to be termed a twin. There are two type of twin deficit, which is fiscal deficit and current account deficit. The best solution that can give from the statement, impose tariff quotas on import good operating deficit, urging a further diversification of revenue stream. Next, I will talk about the type of twin deficit. First is fiscal deficit. Fiscal deficit is a government spending in excess of revenue. For example, based on the paragraph, in 1998, the total expenditures of successive administrations exceed total revenue even when oil price surpassed US $100 a barrel. Is the current account deficit. Current account deficit is when the value of import in a country exceeds that of export. We need to know that export are local goods that are traded abroad. A current account deficit is not necessarily a bad thing if the magnitude of deficit does not widen on a sustained basis. The government will get revenue from the purchase of Malaysian goods by buyer abroad. Imports are goods that Malaysian buy from abroad. First, I will talk about the best solution to overcome the problem of double deficit is to impose tariff quotas on import goods. Price of import goods can increase to reduce import. This will encourage the use of locally goods to replace import. This will cause the flow of money in the country increase to cover the current account finance. Capital inflow will put upward pressure on real exchange rates through nominal rate appreciation or a rising price level domestic. Real exchange rate as a result of budget deficit further contribute to the adverse trade balance. That is from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. My name is Mirza Takia binti Abdul Wahab from matric number A20A1445. Alright, now I will continue answer the case study number 3 of our group. In the other hands, the operating deficit is one of the best solutions to overcome the problem of twin deficit. From this, Malaysia can incur an operating expenditure in the federal government's financial account, which is compelled painful structural adjustment policies to correct the twin deficits. So this can measure taken back the included rationalization, trimming and reordering of public sector expenditure, including that non-financial public enterprises. Some other measures to handle the current account deficit of the balance of payments were shipping, transport and tourism related policies to improve the services account outflows encourage import substitution to reduce over dependency on imported capital and intermediate goods, as well as export promotion to strengthen the trade sector. As a final point, another best solution to overcome the problem of twin deficit is urging a further diversification of revenue streams despite reintroducing the goods and service tax, which is GST. This is because the consumption tax may not have been popular with the public, especially low to medium income earners. In the other words, Malaysia should over-dependence on these commodities exposes the country to the vicissitudes of volatile trade swings. Next, as it is a fossil, Malaysians should reduce reliance on a fuel that pollutes the environment, so that Malaysia could still export these commodities, but must export taxes to finance Malaysian society and R&D. That's all from me. Thank you.